All right. Thank you so much to Deccan Herald for having us here today. While Bangalore stands at the center of Karnataka's energy demand, structured flow of electrons originates far beyond the city's boundaries. Wind corridors, solar parks, hydropower stations are spread across the state. And the implications of the energy transition will not only happen in Bangalore, but also for Karnataka. So to start with, Mr. Rudrappaiah, sir, Karnataka is among the top 5 states in terms of renewable energy capacity, top 3 in terms of wind power capacity, and Credle has been instrumental in Karnataka's clean energy transition. So what is, as we build momentum forward, what is the state's strategy to further drive clean energy adoption in priority sectors in the near and medium term? And what are some of the upcoming major initiatives that the state is trying to undertake?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before answering the question, I would like to ask you one question. Do you know where is the largest solar park in the world? Pavgada. And do you know who is the man behind that the great initiative? The present Deputy Chief Minister and the then Energy Minister. The extent of that Pavgada solar park is around 13,000 acres, and the capacity of that park is 2 gigawatt. It's a very humongous. It was a great initiative during that time. Out of 13,000 acres, not even a single acre was purchased from the farmer, acquired from the farmer. Farmer is made as a partner in this great initiative. And having said this, we all know that we are aware of the COP Conference of Parties consensus arrived in Paris that we will become net zero by 2070. That is a 50 years target. Of course, India is also party to that. That will become net zero by 2070. And to achieve that, yes, Karnataka has to give a major contribution to that. And we have set a target of 500 gigawatt by 2030. Naturally, to achieve this, Karnataka has to give a major contribution. And I would like to just point one, as a data. Way back in 2009, Karnataka was only 2.5 gigawatt. And Karnataka is known for proactive policies. 2009, we bought the first RE policy in the southern states. And today we are 25 gigawatt. So over a period of this 2009 to journey to 2025, we have achieved 25 gigawatt. That is out of the total capacity of 35 gigawatt. That means almost 70% comes from the renewable energy. So that is a great energy mix Karnataka has got. So it is just because of the Karnataka's proactive policies which were able to achieve here. But yes, that is not the end of it. Recently, we have done a resource adequacy plan to understand what would be our requirement for another 10 years. So by 34-35, as per the RAP, we have to add another 38 gigawatt to our kitty. So this 25 is not enough. We have a long way to go. And for that 38 gigawatt, yes, we are coming out with a lot of tenders. And as an interim, by 29-30, we are adding almost 12 gigawatt to that. So that is what our plan is. Of course, there are various things. We are not leaving any stone unturned. So we are taking up a rooftop. We are taking up a decentralized generation. So all these things are in our cards. The major changes what we are doing is adding battery energy storage. That's going to be a very, very critical factor in the days to come. So that is a very important step we are taking. Yes, overall strategy to say, the Karnataka's strategy to meet the resource adequacy plan, we are coming out with solar, wind, best energy storage projects which will be tendered very soon. But the overall strategy is that it is not only capacity addition, but it will come with the overall strategy of having generation, consumption, and also overall to meet the demand of the state. That is what they are looking at it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. And like you mentioned, planning is crucial, and it looks like Karnataka is already taking the steps with the resource adequacy plans. And if I may move to Jay, I think having better projections of the future demand is crucial, and also ensuring that allows you to not invest and lock yourself in very costly infrastructure, which may not be unnecessary. That's why planning is absolutely crucial. And as a think tank, CSTEP has been working on different types of data-driven tools and for decision making. One of them that I know is, of course, CREST, which is the rooftop solar evaluation tool, but also your work on integrated resource planning. And my question to you is, how can not just government agencies leverage these tools, but also how do citizens, utilities, and regulators alike leverage some of these tools and lead and help a better decision making?
Thank you for that question, Lanvin. And I must also thank Deccan Herald for inviting us to speak about this very important aspect. Something that I've always mentioned is, of course, energy is crucial for development. And where we get it from is going to become more and more important as the days go by. And one of the things that is brought to bear is the fact that we need to know what our demands are going to be over this period of time. So when we talk about energy, we also have to think about other aspects of life. Be it, we talked about water earlier in the session, which talked about a lot of energy that goes into pumping the water to Bangalore. There is also transport. As we move toward electrification of transport, be it public transport or through private vehicles. So there are a number of demands that are going to come over a period of time. But also gone are the days where everything can be planned to the T. We actually have to start thinking about frameworks within which we are able to set the system right so that there's a feedback mechanism so that it can correct itself over a period of time. And this is where data becomes a very important part. I must say that being from Bangalore, think tank from Bangalore, we are particularly proud and happy that we were one of the first cities that did a LIDAR-based assessment of all rooftops in Bangalore to assess the rooftop solar potential in Bangalore. That is just the start. I think we have to start thinking about data in many more ways in terms of demand that we are going to have, all the way from the perspective of when we want to travel, when we want to charge our vehicles, which public transportation or which way we want to consume electricity or energy in our sources. So this is where I think as we develop further, we'll have to start thinking about building what we would call a digital twin for the city, where we can use that data to now start thinking about how we would transact energy, both from a production as well as a consumption perspective, and manage the resource as we go forward. Today, we may estimate that the demand would reach certain number of gigawatts. What if it becomes more, or what if it becomes less? How do we manage that? And I think that is where our challenge is going to be. We have to start thinking about it a little more holistically, think about how we can match these demands and supplies, because once that kilowatt or that unit of electricity is generated, it has to be consumed. Unless, of course, you think about battery storage, but that is also not unlimited. So I think you have to think about using resources in a manner that's very efficient, and that's where the holistic use of data through the digital twins is one of the ways in which we can think about it.
Thank you, Jay. And now just talking about the energy transition, how we've looked at it is, any population across any initiative can be placed on a bell curve. On one end of the spectrum, there is a smaller part of the population which already has all the resources, and whatever happens with the energy transition, it doesn't really affect them, be it we are very heavy fossil or very heavy RE. Then there's the middle section of the population, which is the majority of the population for whom incentives, policies are generally designed. And then the other section of the population, the last section, is those who sometimes do get excluded, and therefore policies have to be iterative. And coming to Huda, how do we make this energy transition equitable and ensure that it is inclusive? And what is the kind of roles that decentralized solutions have played to make sure that the energy transition as we go forward is one for all?
Thank you. Thanks for the question. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having us. So at SELCO Foundation, we've been working for the past 25 years on distributed energy. Now, when you start approaching things with distributed energy, you'd have to look at the demand side optimization. So the usage, the efficiency. Otherwise, it's always distributed energy is very expensive. So the strategy that we've been using over the years is how do you integrate distributed energy as a catalyst within different development verticals and not really having it as an afterthought. Just as an example, the state of Karnataka has shown incredible leadership over the past 3 to 4 years on integrating distributed energy within different departments and schemes. It's the only state now where you have more than 60% of all health centers running on distributed energy with solar, completely integrated. All PHCs, sub-centers, district hospitals, whether it's on-grid, hybrid, off-grid, need-based, right? All integrated with remote monitoring systems on a dashboard where you can proactively provide servicing with digitally enabled asset management systems. This has become a learning ground. One, it's the largest program in the world, not even in India. It has become a learning ground not only for other states, but for multiple countries from Africa. The level of leadership that the state has shown, right? But now when you look at this supply side, you're providing distributed energy for health centers, right? You cannot ignore the energy efficient equipment because you're actually powering, it's like powering an old cathode ray tube television. You'll never power that if you're providing solar energy. You say junk that, provide an LCD LED and then you can power it. Actually, the appliance sector has tremendous capacity. So in the health sector, for example, energy efficiency of baby warmers, right? Now, what was being procured is 1,500 watts, 1,000 watts, 800 watts. But there's 350 watts, 150 watt available without any compromise, right? So how do you look at efficiency and optimization of use being that driver? Very similarly, whether it is food processing, PMFME, it's the only state where at least every 10 systems that are implemented for food processing, 3 systems are done with efficiency and renewable energy, where you've shown PMFME, right? So animal husbandry department, you have, and in fact, this is an outlier which has come from the ground. The disability department has now made part of its Aadhaar scheme provision of energy efficient productive use equipment and solar. Micro businesses, all of them. So this is an immense demand side potential of packaging, where you're not looking at energy as an afterthought, but a crucial enabler, and you're incorporating it within the combination, within the business model. I think Karnataka had come out with one of the most iconic, the Sampurna Kitchen program, where any kitchen upgradation actually had solar integrated, appliance integrated. So there's immense opportunity there, right? So coming to the urban side, now when you talk about Bangalore, right, that's where things get a little more complicated, right? Because yes, of course, rooftop, there is a potential. We've been accelerating. There are some milestones that have been hit, both institutions as well as, but it really depends on the building laws, really. In urban areas, I think planning for rooftop becomes very challenging because there's no real standardization from a building code perspective, right? But at the same time, the demand side potential is immense. Because now you spoke about leave no one behind and inclusion, right? So when it comes to a city level, what is that population that you need to consider when you look at who do you not want to leave behind? It is your gig workers, your outdoor workers, construction workers, street vendors, low-income micro businesses. These are your piece per rate workers, your industry workers. These are really the people that you want to leave no one behind. And they are going to be heavily affected with climate change. I mean, whether we like it or not, sooner or later, we're all going to be in a frying pan. But even more so, like Bangalore, when it comes to heat stress, right? There's a lot of potential to package the right solutions. And so when we look at it from a supply side, you miss the opportunity of optimizing heating, cooling appliances, energy efficient use appliances, making it part of existing policies, street vending zones, whether it's low income housing. So how do you ensure that those are integrated? And not ignoring the successes that Karnataka has had, whether it's LED and especially and Bangalore has had, like the water heater. So the water heaters, that's one of the successes that Bangalore has seen, right? You called it a subsidy, but really it was a catalytic movement that led to making finance available for water heaters, right? So many private sectors, so many enterprises started to thrive because of that scheme, right? So how do you package similar schemes for different types of low-income populations, which very often, to be honest, in Bangalore are very, very last on the priority list. It's like, you can see like traffic waste, and then by the time you get to the low-income, it's really difficult to kind of do that. But there's immense opportunity and leadership, just like how the state has shown. Bangalore needs to show it, but we need to leapfrog. We need to look at, if we're talking about 2040, right? How do we make sure that everything is, IoT enabled, aspirational? It's not something that we are designing typewriters, which is what ends up happening when you're designing for the poor. Right? So I think that's where the opportunity Bangalore now has, and hopefully we crack it. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, solar water heaters, it's a poster child which never had a poster. It was so famous. It's so successful, but we've not really had to promote it. It's just that everyone has known how successful it is and how good it is. And, very few panels on energy transition where we start with energy efficiency, and I'm glad that we've done so now. So, if I can actually go back to Mr. Rudrappaiah, sir, while talking about green energy supply, energy equally important is the focus on energy demand. And, Karnataka is one of the few states one of the first states, in fact, which actually has a dedicated policy on energy efficiency. But my question to you is, what sort of collaboration would Credil need from the GBA and other Bengaluru-based agencies to make the policy a reality and really make a difference on the ground?
Of course, conservation is a very, very important. There is a proverb that, a rupee saved is equal to 2 rupee earned. If I convert that into energy, like a unit saved is equal to 2 units of energy generated. So the conservation is the faster and economical. From understanding this, government of Karnataka, probably it's the first state in the country to bring out energy conservation policy, and that aims at conserving energy to the tune of around 744 billion kilowatt hour of energy. And that would avoid putting up fossil fuel-based projects to the tune of around 500 megawatt. And so Karnataka is very proactive. We are working on all the sectors, whether it is municipal or industry or agriculture. Like for industry, we have a scheme called PAT. And for agriculture, we are going for the energy efficient solar pump sets. So we are not leaving any sector left behind to lead this, in the energy conservation. So, because of that, one thing I would like to highlight, because of the initiatives we have taken for this to work on all these sectors, Karnataka has been awarded first consecutively for 5 years, nationally by the Honorable President of the country. So, taking that, of course, you mentioned about GBA. We are working very closely with GBA to see that building code is implemented in effective, so that it is brought into bylaws. So we are working very closely with the GBA in this direction.
Thank you, sir. Just coming to Jay, as we talk about more clean energy integration into the grid, it also is becoming more diversified than the traditional solar and wind, looking at battery storage, which sir mentioned, green hydrogen, electrification of transport. Our Honorable Deputy CM spoke about waste to energy. And when all of these solutions come in, if you could tell us, what are some of the hurdles that policymakers and industries and others are expected to run into as we lead towards 2040, and how do we go about it?
So the common hurdle I think everyone knows is the intermittency of the future of decentralized renewable energy. But I think I will point to a more interesting hurdle, which I would say is governance. All of us have been in class projects with 10 students, and we know 8 of them don't do any work. It's only those 2 bright students that end up doing the work. And that's the case that we're going to face here. I think the governance will become very important, and I think the digital energy grid, where we can help with this governance and make sure that we set the frameworks where the system is self-correcting over a period of time, and so that either we don't over-provision or we don't under-provision. I think that becomes a real challenge. So the governments or the governance will have to be on how do we set up these systems so that the systems are self-correcting and handle these issues of intermittency as well as the multiple players in the room. I think no one would like to favor one or another player. It has to be a level playing field, and that's where I say the governance becomes an important issue.
Thank you, Chair. And so my last question to Huda, beyond, energy transition is always about the traditional numbers of gigawatt, megawatt capacity, carbon emissions avoided. But how do you think we need to redefine how we measure success as we look at translating policy into actions on the ground? How do we think beyond, what are the metrics beyond capacity numbers that we need to look at?
Sure. So, I mean, I think stick to the fact that, energy is an enabler towards better health, better livelihoods, better drudgery reduction, etc. No doubt about that. But I just want to build on the systems thought process as well, because I think most of the challenges and solutions that we're working on require a lot of interdepartmental, so I kind of feel like the major challenge is going to be people that can think in systems and convert that into practice, like action, like systems-driven action, because the way in which our incentives are aligned are actually very siloed, which doesn't really reflect the true idea of the problem. So I just wanted to end with that thought. Thank you.
So we have our two buzzers. So systems thinking, converting policy to action, and I think Bengaluru is very much critical to ensuring how the state's ambitions can be translated. And we have people here, but also people in the room who will help us achieve that. So being the capital for innovation, technologies, and also hopefully now will be a leader for the energy transition as we look ahead. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ritu.